Just before midnight, on the 25th of April 1986, Alexander Yevchenko clocked in for his night shift. The next few hours will go down as one of the most controversial hours in history. At home, Alexander's wife Natasha and son Kirill are sleeping. Natasha isn't so sure about nuclear power plants, but she recently was reassured by a Soviet official on TV that nuclear meltdowns only happen about every 10,000 years. Little does she know, in a couple of hours from now, Chernobyl will explode. So what happened? Why did Chernobyl melt down? First, we need to know how a nuclear reactor works. In the reactor, neutrons split uranium atoms, making more neutrons. They split more atoms, creating even more neutrons. This is a chain reaction. This creates a lot of heat. With this heat, you make the water turn into steam. This steam turns the turbine, producing electricity. To keep the reaction under control, you use control rods to slow the response down. But something the Soviet Union was hiding was that once the control rods were inserted, there was a sudden spike in power. This was due to the tips of the rods. They were made out of graphite, and graphite accelerates the reaction. So what went wrong at Chernobyl? To know this, we must understand the night of the accident, the operators were testing to see how the reactor would respond to a power outage. To do this, they had to reduce the reactor's power, but they did it too fast, so somebody pressed the AZ5 button. The control rods were supposed to stop the chain reaction, but it only accelerated it, because all the control rods dropped at the same time. This caused a sudden power surge. The reactor exploded, releasing a large amount of radioactive material into the environment.
(1:23:42). Perevozchenko looks down on the enormous steel lid of the reactor and sees the impossible. The control rod and fuel channel caps, which each weigh 350 kilograms, are jumping up and down. He runs to warn the control room, but there's nothing he can do to stop what is coming. 1:23:44. The steam blows more fuel channels apart. We do not know how high the power went. We only know the final reading. Reactor 4, designed to operate at 3,200 megawatts, went beyond 33,000. The pressure inside the core can no longer be held back. At long last, we have arrived. 1:23:45, explosion. In the instant the lid is thrown off the reactor, oxygen rushes in. It combines with hydrogen and superheated graphite. The chain of disaster is now complete.
The test leading up to the meltdown was trying to prove that the turbine would keep spinning long enough to bridge the gap so the generators had enough time to turn on when a power outage occurred. This test has been attempted numerous times before, but was suspended this time. The less experienced night shift was responsible for conducting it. Only one member of the night shift knew how to conduct this test, but the rest of the staff were not informed, and this was one of the causes for the meltdown. The other cause for the meltdown was that the test was only done to show the government that it had been done. They knew it wouldn't work, but still did it, just to show for it. There are many things you can take away from the show, but one thing in particular that I learned was that having a corrupt government built on lies and deception only leads to disaster. Because if the workers had been informed about the control rods, they would have never pushed the AZ5 button, and this whole disaster would have never happened. In the end, 134 reactor workers were immediately hospitalized, and only 42 survived long term. 130,000 people were evacuated, and anywhere between 4,000 and 200,000 died early because of radiation poisoning. However, only 31 deaths were officially reported by the Soviet Union.